job to be done has not changed. Task to be performed has changed. Tools that you're going to use. They say today Python is important tool, R programming is important tool for data analytics. Tomorrow it will change because a lot of new tools are coming into market, and some tools will actually overtake the existing tools. New frameworks will come. Agentic AI is coming.
Yes.
Agentic AI framework will maybe negate the need for knowing Python programming. More than coding now and always, decoding is more important. Decoding what value you are delivering. The computers will be such that you walk through this door, somebody has a chance of getting a cancer or heart attack, immediately beep karega. Door will beep. This guy who passed this door, after next 5 minutes, he will get heart attack. That kind of integration will happen when programming becomes zero cost programming. So people have to reimagine their lives. If you see the nature, it's a natural ecosystem. It evolves from ground up.
Right.
That is how organization structure will change when GenAI is infused into the organization at the core level. So when aeroplanes came first, there was no air traffic control. But now where we have, when every minute in a city like Mumbai, a plane takes off, you require air traffic control. Otherwise, the planes will crash into each other. Similarly, the AI is now becoming so ingrained into our lives that governance of AI is a must. What is the impact that you are going to make in the world? Money comes from the impact and not vice versa. So I have multiple businesses. We talk about data analytics. I have another business in aeronautics space which I started, and which is, there are not many companies in the world. I think after 10 years there will be many companies.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's podcast. Last series of episodes, we have been discussing in depth about various different topics in artificial intelligence, and we have brought in different kinds of leaders across the AI domain, across the globe. So in today's episode, I have another marvelous personality. Probably after researching about him, I would say he's one of the OGs in the data in the country right now. I met him recently, and the kind of points that he has shown in his articles and in his personal talks actually inspired me, and I really wanted to host him on my podcast. So he runs a analytics company. Not now, not 5 years back. For the last 2 decades, he has been leading analytics company in the country, and he has clients across the globe. It's called Decimal Point Analytics. It's based out of Mumbai, and they have clients across the globe. I have someone special, the founder and CEO of the company, Shailesh Dhuri, sir. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you for accepting the invitation and coming to the studio today.
It's my pleasure.
I would like to straight away dive into one of the points that you have mentioned during the recent talk, where you have compared the AI systems along with the Air Force and the aeroplane systems that are there.
Correct.
You took a very good, interesting analogy between both. I would like to start from there. Why don't you give that particular point of comparing both, and then I will get into other questions.
Yes. So you are referring to the talk that I gave in Dubai.
Yes.
So people are talking about AI safety and governance around AI. And so whether it's required, not required, it's costly, not costly. So I brought in a point that when aeroplanes came first, there was no air traffic control. There was no need for air traffic control because there were no aeroplanes. And if you have only 4 or 5 aeroplanes in the world, there is again no need for air traffic control. But now where we have, when every minute in a city like Mumbai, a plane takes off, you require air traffic control. Otherwise, the planes will crash into each other.
Yes.
Similarly, the AI is now becoming so ingrained into our lives that governance of AI is a must. It is not a luxury. It is not a cost. It is not an imagination. It's a necessity. Otherwise, just like an uncontrolled air traffic can cause accidents, an uncontrolled AI can cause havoc in the world. That was the point that I brought out.
Yes. So earlier, like people were not, when the flight was invented, aircraft were invented, people didn't think much about the systems around it. We are probably in the similar situation when it comes to AI.
Correct.
But in your case, I want to go a little more into your startup, your company that you have built in the last 2 decades, Decimal Point Analytics. Even before, I feel that's the time internet started.
Yes.
So at that point, how did you end up starting an analytics company? Because that at that point people don't even know what's internet, like in 2000s. So where it all started?
So it started along with internet. So I do not know whether you know or not. India got internet on 15 January 97. I had some budget in my office, and in the office I got the internet connectivity, and I saw the internet first time. And when I saw that, I thought India can become analytics capital of the world because we have so much of talent available, and now all the information of the world is available on internet.
Right.
However, coming from lower middle class background, it took few years to convert, and that time there was no concept of startups. People used to think people who cannot get jobs, they run
start a
business. Okay, so it took 6 or 7 years to save my money and take a plunge to start the business. So 97 I thought, 2003 I started, and that too I started in a very small way. That time my office was much smaller than even this room, and then now it has grown, and now people understand what data analytics is. Not even today everybody understands. People have different perceptions, and there is long way to go for data analytics to become an important aspect of our lives.
But what inspires me more is at that point when people were figuring out what is yahoo.com, google.com, that's when the internet started. People were not even started booking online things, because even IRCTC and everything like started coming in the later part. When did you start thinking data is a very important point? Because you're not someone just randomly started, because you're very strong in your academics. I saw you are an alumnus of IIM Bangalore. So why don't you tell about your start? Like, where did you find, okay, data is going to be a very important point, or I should build a company around it, when there was at most there is probably nobody talking about that at that point. So that fascinates me.
So you talked about travel booking. I'll give a very interesting anecdote. I got married in year 99, and we decided that we'll go to Singapore for our honeymoon. And that time there was not many people who used to do bookings on internet. The way bookings used to happen, that you walk into a travel agent's office or airline's office and do the booking. But I used internet to do booking. Okay. And you won't believe that for a 1 week trip to Singapore, economy class going back and forth, staying in a luxury hotel and hiring a Mercedes van for 5 days, it costed us 17,000 rupees.
Okay.
Now 17,000 rupees, even that time, it won't get you much. Because I was able to use internet and data around internet to see which hotels.
So 17,000 was lesser only at that point.
So if that time I had to go to Uti,
okay,
it would cost 1 week trip would be 30,000 rupees. So half of that,
you were able to go to Singapore. And come back. Yeah.
So that is the power of data which I had pursued. That on internet it is there, because in internet everything is freely available. So earlier, let us say when I was growing up, if I had to do any research, people used to have paper cuttings, newspaper cuttings. So if I want to, let's say, study about India steel industry, how will I study about India steel industry in those days? Yes, somebody would keep paper cuttings of all news items about anything to do with steel. Then you go to some library, usually British Council Library or Reserve Bank Library, and ask them to lend those files. You read those files, paper cuttings files, and try to get analysis. Now, with the internet, just one click, maybe 20 in that time when Google was not there, maybe 20 clicks, but you can find news about steel industry in India. With Google, it from 20 click, it became 2 clicks. So the cost of getting information became less. Once something becomes less costly, people will use it more. And they will ingrain in their life. That was my belief.
Okay.
And it is coming true, and it still had a long way to go.
Great. So from there till now, like almost more than 2 decades, how has the transition been like? Because you have been, you have started a company even before Google. So which means like you have
around Google.
Around Google. So which means you have explored ins and outs of the internet era, and now the data era, and like now the artificial intelligence stage. And you have worked with some of the largest enterprises around the world, already managing their data and keeping, making it work for them and getting them the right insights and all. How do you see the post ChatGPT era and the pre ChatGPT era? Like, because right now everybody is talking about it, but how did you help the businesses by running an analytics company? If you can tell me in phases, like how it was in pre 2015 and then after and then now in the artificial intelligence?
So in the earlier times, the people didn't used to value data, and data used to be moved around in PDF files, in faxes. I have seen people sending faxes till 2010-12, sending data around faxes or in the PDF. Nobody would try to create a contextual meaning of the data. I'll give one, and this is happening even now in very large companies.
Okay.
I will give one very interesting example about one of the large Canadian mutual fund, which has three different funds, managed by three different asset managers. One asset manager has a mandate to invest in US companies. Other asset manager has mandate to invest in UK companies. And third has a mandate to invest in European companies. Three fund managers. Now there is a company which has headquarters in Dublin, Ireland. Its entire business comes from England, not even UK, England.
Okay.
And its only stock listing is in New York Stock Exchange. Okay. Now, in that Canadian fund, all three fund managers had invested in this company. One, the guy with a mandate to invest in US company says, this is listed in US, so it is a US company.
Okay.
Okay. The guy who has a mandate to invest in a European company, it says headquartered in Dublin. Dublin is part of EU, so it is a European company. The guy who has a mandate to invest in UK says entire business, all income is coming from UK, so it is a UK company. Now, all three are correct, but for one company, for one mutual fund, all three cannot be correct at the same time. Right? But that is the level of lack of sophistication, even in the largest companies in the world, that is happening even today.
Interesting.
I'm giving very simple examples.
Yeah. So, which means even today, the data the large amounts of data from the enterprises are still unstructured and underutilized.
So unstructured, okay, it doesn't have context,
okay,
and it doesn't have legacy.
Okay.
So all data comes from legacy. Like we are proud of our history. Similarly, data is proud of that's history. So people don't have that context, and that is why these problems still continue. And most of the efforts of implementing Gen AI goes in figuring out which data to use and whether the data is giving the right context and right legacy to the algorithm. Otherwise, algorithm will, the old term, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Okay.
That will happen.
Fine. So can you tell me like an example with one of your companies? Probably you need not name the company, but probably in a particular sector, how data played a very critical role. Because let's take a bank like SBI. Like they're one of the largest in the country and they have so much of data, and even right now a lot of things are computerized and everything is happening online. But at least like 10 years before, if you see, like because I know some of my relatives work there, I've been to some of the largest SBI banks, and I've seen lot of files and data of people. There is problem at every stage of banking, right? But now things are getting better.
Better, yes.
So can you tell me, like maybe banking or any other sector, how data played very critical and things evolved with data for any of the large companies, which will help like somebody who's watching this who has probably very least knowledge about how data analytics works?
Earlier, the bank's data was in ledger and it used to be a branch wise. Now it is at a centralized location, but that is the bank's data, what you are transacting or I are transacting. But there is something much more than that. So I'll give example of a bank. Let us say a bank, let us say, has a relationship with an education institution in that area. Let's say a branch. There is a big college, and to build that college, the bank has given a loan to the foundation that runs the college. Maybe that is a relationship. Now, in the earlier era, the relationship would stop there. Now, with the data analytics era, what can happen? And what is happening with some people is that now what else that bank can do? Obviously, that's a college. Now that means students are coming. Now many students require education loan nowadays. So a bank, if a bank system connects to the system of the college, then they can create custom loan offerings. So somebody is getting admission, immediately along with the admission letter, a loan offer goes from the bank. So the even parents are less tension, right? My parents say, my son or daughter has secured admission, but from where I'll get the money? Now, with data analytics, they can say that if you have these assets, maybe we can give these loans and the loans will be at a good rate. So your ward can get good education. Data analytics can afford that. Now, people want to make payments for the fees as well as for maybe students' rent, students' monthly expenses. If bank can create an ecosystem, and banks are creating ecosystem,
Right.
parents will be below less mental agony about these issues.
Right.
And this is all data analytics can enable this.
Right.
So I'm giving examples in simple terms which everybody can understand. Obviously, there are complex things that banks can do with larger corporates to enable that corporate to function better, that corporate's customers to function better, that corporate's vendor to function better, as well as the bank themselves to function better.
Right. So these decision of like, okay, let me automate or let me start new products within a bank are not just a boardroom discussions. You say like these are decisions made after they see and analyze a large amount of data.
Correct.
Fine. So, but how it is done? Like let's take a example of a manufacturing industry or any other industry based on your experience you can share. So how compare two companies, one with the same size, or let's say they are also of equal size, equal capacity, having similarly revenue, two manufacturing industries, one not effectively utilizing their data to their maximum potential. Because I worked in manufacturing, I know like everybody notes down the temperature, the SOPs that are being followed. Every single shift, there will be one person noting down all the data. And recently it is computerized, it's in Excel sheet and stuff like that. I have seen up to that level, and people used to make some dashboards in Excel and stuff like that. So that's something a lot of people who have worked have that idea. On the other side, people going deeper into it, probably deploying a lot of tools, analytics into like that large amount of data probably that is acquired over the last 5 to 10 years, and they are going deeper into it to understand much about the process.
Yes.
So tell me, the company that only have data in the Excel sheets and like just some random discussions happening over it, and somebody who's taking it really seriously and going deeper into it, what are the two differences?
So I can give examples from manufacturing or I can give examples from retail.
Okay.
Now maybe the audience can understand the retail examples easier. So let us take an example of a luggage company which sells suitcases. They will have different stores, and what sales are happening at each store, what is the inventory, because again suitcase is a heavy item in terms of size, right? You cannot carry too much of inventory in your store. Now the risk is that when the customer walks in, you don't have right product to show to the customer because you are out of that inventory, or the thing is otherwise you carry off inventory of something that you do not require.
Right.
Now if each and every store keeps the inventory data and the sales data in Excel, and maybe at the end of the month they're aggregating, then a lot of these opportunities are getting lost. But if it is stored in a unified ledger at the headquarter, and the headquarter does the analysis saying that in this particular store, maybe this particular store is in Mumbai airport, and Mumbai airport, let's say lots of people from film industry are traveling, and hence the red color luggage is getting picked up quite fast.
Okay.
So the red color luggage is getting sold faster, and so I need to send more of red color
To all my
and now tomorrow if my sales of last 1 week trend continues, in 2 days my red color in Mumbai airport store will be over. So on urgent basis send, and if I don't have in manufacturing, figure out which other store in about 100-kilometer area has that, and ask the store courier that thing here so that it will get sold. And anyways you have to excess inventory of red color furniture luggage. This is a very simple example where I am giving, where maintaining data in Excel versus maintaining data in a systematic way at the organization level helps. Not only it helps at organization level, once you give access to your vendors, the vendors also can prepare based on this. If the vendors know that the company's inventory level on this particular item is reducing, they can start producing that automatically. And
Right.
you don't have to go and say that, okay, produce this. So they whatever they have to order to produce, they can give the order to produce that particular item.
Correct. So here the entire point of data was to drive sales and increase the revenue instead of wasting time in places where, like, let's say the green suitcases are not at all being sold. So let me put more of my energy in getting the red colored suitcase and thereby increasing the sales for not just for the across the manufacturing, the backward forward, everywhere it is making sense. So earlier also, like, let's say even before data, people were doing this with intuition or like some sort of a calculation. Someone who is the Malik, the head of the manufacturing, will like do some calculation and do it. And I think even now, maximum of the business runs like that. In the probably 2-3 people who are making decision, the sales manager or people who are there. So whether these data and this large analytics system and everything, do you think it is only applicable for larger enterprises with large amounts of data, or even someone who is having, let's say, 2-3 stores, or like, let's say, a kirana wala, or like even somebody running a very small business with small amount of data collected, primary data collected. So how they can see analytics versus larger enterprise? Like, do you think it is only meant for
correct?
large companies?
So small companies also it is useful. Okay. So let me give example. Today morning I went for haircut, and that's a small shop. I didn't go to a big chain. So they have only 2 stores in where I stay. And today is a Sunday, and the number of employees were less. The footfall was high, and the crowd was high. And the senior barber was calling the owner from second store, send somebody.
Okay.
Right? So that we can manage footfall here. Now, this is a problem that even a 2-store barbershop is facing.
Right.
So they if they have, and they don't require very high-end data analytics system, if they model that in last few Sundays, how many people came in, saw too much crowd and walked away. Even if they put a student to just put it down, they will know that what is a lost sale. And if they should hire somebody specifically for Sundays, right? You don't have to spend too much money on that. So that data analytics also can't help. Because somebody sees there's a lot of long queue and walks away. That's a lost sale, no?
Exactly.
Yes. So small companies can benefit. They don't have to invest that much. They have to invest lower, but they can benefit. They don't have to work with decimal analytics for that. They can do it on their own.
Yes. So that's the importance of, because lot many people probably will not think about like, why should I collect some data?
Correct.
Because I have always seen people who are very fond of. In my personal experience, I have seen people who are coming from this strong mathematics background, or like I have happened to work with a couple of IITians in my beginning of the career. So the way I approach a problem and the way they see, because I remember in my manufacturing once, there was a problem that somebody was carrying a wheat bori from like Gudon to the loading place. And kind of the transition, so this person was doing, so we had problem because of manual labors and we were not able to do. So I was just observing and I was counting how many people are doing per hour and stuff like that. But whereas the person who was little bit having more knowledge about this, the senior, so he was calculating like how the speed involved, like how many bags this person is able to carry on 1 hour, like what is the time that they are wasting for taking rest in between. So then like kind of after he calculated, he said like we can save much of the cost by deploying one conveyor belt here, and then he deployed it and he saved it. So that's my personal experience on how a small data changed the way, because they have been running that particular activity for last 30 years. But with some small calculation, it has been completely
I'll tell you a very interesting example. So now Walmart is a very large company. But when Sam Walt started, he started the company. Obviously, it was a one-store company. And the reason it became so large was his obsession with data.
Okay.
So what was his obsession with data? And obsession with data is not for the obsession of data. We're customer focus. Okay, always my higher sales or lower cost comes from focus for my customer. I mean, my means any organization. So what was his obsession? His obsession was whatever are the stores around my area in the catchment, my price should be the lowest.
Okay.
Now, what he used to do? He used to spend his own 3-4 hours of his own time. He was not a rich person that time. He was running a small shop. And if you see somebody running a small shop sits in their own shop. He was not sitting in his shop for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
He would go in other shops and see what are their prices and are their prices lower than my prices. And if this says, if for this item, this store is selling at lower price than me, I need to figure out from where they are buying.
Okay.
Let me figure out.
Okay.
So that is the way, with that obsession, Walmart became the lowest price shop. And because of that, it became the biggest retailer in the world.
Okay.
So that basis lies in having that obsession for customer. And obsession for customer can be satisfied via information. And that is data.
So from probably one outlet to thousands and lakhs of outlets, it came from that obsession.
Obsession,
So we think that data is something external and like we have to acquire that and it's something. It's something like I need to go and prepare for it and get a new tool to adapt it. But you are saying it starts from the base, like every single number that you have in your probably operation, you should closely watch it so that you can improve it.
Correct.
So now in the era of AI, like let's say, I know even before the word AI is being used most commonly in every conversation at this point. But in your previous experience, like before, let's say ChatGPT or like OpenAI, even then data was the center point of everything. And now people are talking about data and utilizing it and building utilizing their previous data to acquire some insights and do. So all the organizations are getting aware about the data at this point. So how do you see artificial intelligence is playing a role here? Like now we have enough data that has been acquired. How companies are going about it and what kind of change that you expect in the coming days with now we have enough data and now what next? What are the changes across will happen? Maybe you can give based on your experience.
Yes. So you mentioned intuition, right? So intuition and AI would go hand in hand. So what is intuition? Intuition is 10,000 hours of practice. When you practice more, you get higher intuition and higher intuition allows you to make better judgment.
Yeah.
Now, before AI, the managers or the junior level executives were stuck into very mundane decisions. And their intuition was developing into mundane things and things that were more important, but they were not urgent. They were getting left out. Now, mundane and urgent things, we can pass it on to AI to do it. While the humans can now start acquiring insights or the intuition onto the more important tasks and can transform the company.
Okay.
So that is how it is going to happen. Now, for that, people have to be ready to say that their job is going to, their time spent on various activity tasks is going to change. Certain tasks that they were doing earlier, now AI can do, and they can focus on other tasks which earlier they were not doing. So that mindset people have to bring in at the operations level, whether it's a production, whether it's a distribution, whether it's a marketing, whether it's sales, all people have to bring that change in mindset in their mind.
Okay. So, can you tell a little bit about the tools that anybody should learn, like let's say a student or somebody who wants to get into it? Because now everybody is talking about some of the top AI search tools and AI stuff, like let's say in terms of creative, there is in terms of creative side, because we work in an agency, we have like we use all the GenAI tools that is related to designing, creating content across
like
our
and
activities.
Yeah.
But in terms of data, in terms of controlling numbers, in terms of dashboard. So I know about people use a lot of visualization tools, Tableau, R Analytics, and things
Power
like
BI.
R programming, Power BI. Like a lot of large companies use the Power BI is from Microsoft and Salesforce. People use a lot of different tools, right? But where do somebody start? Like, okay, I want to get into a job in data analytics. I am very obsessed with numbers. I can mine insights. What people should be doing? What are the professional tools? And with AI coming into picture, like something like ChatGPT after came into picture, like right now we are uploading Excel sheets and asking ChatGPT to mine some insights out of it. So things have been changed, and hours of work summarized into like minutes of activity in tools like ChatGPT. So what people should look forward to learn at this point, according to you?
Okay. So certain things will remain always timeless, and certain things will change. So there is a very interesting framework. Okay. The framework is jobs to be done. So jobs to be done is the value that you derive from the work, and task to be performed is the task that you have to do to derive the value. Now the value that has to be derived from any activity is always the human value. For example, before internet, let's say your dad, in the morning, he would wait for newspaper to come. And if it does not come, most people used to get upset because they don't know what happened in last 24 hours. They want to know. Job to be done was, I want to stay up to date with the latest news. Right. Now, internet came, online TV came. Nobody now waits for newspaper that eagerly. Maybe for editorial they might wait, but for news, nobody waits.
Right.
That has changed. But my requirement to know the things, job to be done has not changed. Task to be performed has changed. That is going to happen. Now, similarly, the tools that you're going to use, let's say today Python is important tool, R programming is important tool for data analytics. Tomorrow it will change because a lot of new tools are coming into market, and some tools will actually overtake the existing tools. New frameworks will come. Agentic AI is coming.
Yes.
Agentic AI framework will maybe negate the need for knowing Python programming. It will negate. Does that mean that I should not learn this thing? You will learn. But more than coding, now and always, decoding is more important. Decoding what value you are delivering. Now, the things which technology will not take away is your curiosity, your compassion for your employer and your customer, and your consciousness that I want to do right thing for my ecosystem. As long as these things are there with you, and with the curiosity, you can acquire new tools as they come. And I can tell you this is the best time to stay alive because there's so many new tools are coming in that people can just feast on the new tools and create new value for customer and create differentiator for them. So I would say look at agentic AI orchestration tools. There are many. Do the search on ChatGPT itself, you'll find hundreds of tools. Maybe take one or two tools and start using. Python you should know a bit, but Python maybe even if you don't know, does not matter now. 3-4 years ago, I would have said you require to know. But these human values are more important to become successful because mundane tasks machine will do. But what needs to be done, we have to tell machine.
So in your experience also, the good data professional and the probably the bests are the ones who deal with the human values more.
Yes.
Can we say like that? Like
Yes. They know that if I focus on this aspect, my customer will be happiest.
Okay.
And they apply data analytics to that. And they don't look at the tools and say, I have this tool, so what I can do.
Okay.
Not that. I want to do this tool, this problem, solve this problem. What tools I need to deploy?
Okay. So it's always the problem and the solution.
The problem first comes, solution is different.
The in between keeps changing.
The
The coding and decoding part that
Yes.
you said like is very interesting. The way the job is done is changing, but the job yet still to be get the information whether through a newspaper or like a app or whatever it is. Now, when it comes to the leadership, like let's say you must have worked with a lot of different types of companies, right? So have you came across situation that like now there is so much happening, so these kind of data related jobs will be done internally and they may not need like a external service company to do, because I know this is a very dumb question, because people ask me also, because I ran a marketing agency, so people come and tell me like, this is right now everything ChatGPT can do, everything AI can do. So I'm quite sure somebody would have told you also, like, because now everything becomes like easier to do. People assume that they don't need a partner to function. Like, how do you approach this particular aspect?
Okay, so another very interesting thing, that when it becomes easier and cheaper to do, over medium term, demand zooms up. In the short term, demand falls. Okay, because people are not able to imagine. I will give you example. So when I was growing up, most railway stations, apart from let's say the main railway station of let's say VT in Mumbai and similar in Bangalore, outside the railway station there used to be Ghoda gadis to take people to their homes. By 1970s, auto rickshaws came, and auto rickshaws brought the price down. Now, let us say the town which I grown up, and I am staying there, Thane. Thane had 7 or 10 Ghoda gadis outside the station that time, and now it has maybe 1 lakh auto rickshaws. The cost of a horse buggy ride is maybe 100x the cost of auto rickshaw ride for the same distance. That 100x did not reduce the job. Let's say for one horse buggy, you require 2 or 3 people. Not only the person who, but somebody to take care of the horse and maintain the vehicle. For auto rickshaw, you require far less number of people to take care. That brought on the cost. But that created a demand which is 1 lakh x, 1 lakh times new demand.
Yeah.
And that has happened for everything. Okay, the way research used to be done earlier, when you had to go and read something from library, the demand for research was very low. Over a period of time, demand for research has now increased. Now everything is determined based on research. Earlier, people used to say, let me make a guess and work on it. Now the cost of research has fallen. People are demanding more.
Right.
Overnight, over 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, 4 quarters, when till people are not able to change their current business practices, the demand might taper off. Might. I have not seen last 20 years demand tapering off. Might taper off, but in the medium term, it will go exponentially up.
So, like, let's say the horse-caught person probably would have lost the job, but it has created jobs for the manufacturing of motors and everything related to manufacturing of an auto came into picture.
Correct.
So now there is like an interesting component. Like now there are with the same example. Now there are driverless cars coming up.
Correct.
So which means the driver only is not required, because in countries in places like San Francisco already a lot of taxis are driverless, manless, right? So now human only is not required. Like that's what the perception is. Probably on the other end, for the manufacturing of the car, the technology behind it, the research behind it, we of course need people. So that's the scenario at this point. So people are right now talking about artificial general intelligence and then artificial super intelligence. Do we see a place where the requirement for the jobs for the human intervention is going to reduce or going to evolve? Like I just want to know.
It will evolve. It will change. Let me give some examples. Okay. So see, now you are wearing.
I'm wearing a normal watch.
Normal watch, right? Now, the manufacturing process of the normal watch is that there are multiple sub-assemblies, and each sub-assembly has multiple parts, and that determines and why it is so. Because humans manufacture this watch, even though it is automated, it is not fully automated. So first, and if the process was that all parts are assembled in one go by one employee, then the chance of errors is high. If the employee goes on break and he forgets where, then he has to start again.
Yeah.
And he will not produce anything for years. Okay. That's why the work is broken down in small components. And that is why many of the functionalities that can be there in that small watch is not there, because the manufacturing process is determined by the limitations of humans manufacturing.
Right.
Okay. You take out that limitations of humans, that watch will become more useful. My watch is smartwatch, okay, because it is produced by robots.
Right.
Okay. So your human, let us say, value that products and services will deliver will increase. Now people will find work in so many other areas, finding requirements, finding things, And see, there are so many problems in the world which are not solved. Right now, 2 billion people don't have drinking water. About 1 billion people don't have good food to eat. And AI can solve this. See, AI has been deployed somewhat wrongly in most of the times. It is deployed for, let's say, engagement for farming. It should be deployed for enlightenment farming.
Okay.
If you do that, then these questions will not arise. There are so many people. See, you talk about San Francisco. Like San Francisco standard of living is so high, even without not having drivers there. Like, drivers are losing job, but the standard of living is high.
Right.
Imagine that standard of living across India and no drivers. It is possible.
Right. Probably they are doing much better jobs.
Much better jobs. That is what we will target.
Yes. So, lot of mundane jobs where the machines can do. And because the other part I want to add on that is, there, as per data, the number of accidents in the road has significantly dropped after manless cars.
Correct.
So it's all happening for the good, but somewhere people are always in the fear of losing something because of this entire transformation that is happening.
That's why because people get confused between job and a task. Okay, the job of a horse carriage and a auto rickshaw is to take you from place A to place B. The task required for a tangawala is different than task required for auto-wala.
Right.
But the tasks will keep on changing.
Right.
But the job that human need to go from place A to place B will never go away. And in fact, as cost goes, people will travel more, people will consume more, people will consume better, people will damage environment less. If you use low technology for the same production, environment gets damaged. All those things will happen.
So, with this podcast, or with this particular episode, I also want to re-emphasize on the fact that there should not be a fear of losing, rather than the mindset should be to evolve and probably see what's changing and how I can prepare for them. Correct. Because I feel there is under preparation even in corporates, institute levels, education level, because everybody, let's say, including a teacher in a school or a professor in a college, they themselves are not seeing how things are going to evolve. Let's say the mindset is the problem, I feel. Some of the people like you, and there are a lot of people I met in the past about the people who are into AI, they are very positive and bullish about the transformation that the AI is bringing in. So because when I speak to students, I see there is a sense of fear, and they say sir, we are not getting job. We are not able to, earlier there were campus placement, a company like Infosys comes and picks 300 people, but now probably they are not coming. So what do you say for students like that? Because I tell them keep evolving, but from your lens.
So when I was growing up, when I was student, the career of typist was getting out. Okay, maybe 5 years before I became graduate, it was fashionable in small towns to become a typist.
Okay.
A typist job was take a copy, make another copy. And computers were coming and people were thinking that now typists are going to get wiped out. My father was clerk cum typist. Okay, so he learned COBOL programming. Okay, and he got promotion in the office. Okay, and now so and if you may not know, you might be very young, there were agitations by Communist Party of India against getting computers in India, saying that typists will lose jobs. Abhi to computer can take 100 copies, you don't of the same thing. But they didn't see what value it can create. Now, programming will get wiped out. And programming will get wiped out. I had predicted 25 years ago that by 2025, computers will write their own programs.
So you predicted
that? Yeah. I had predicted that. But that doesn't mean that computers will get obsolete. Computers will get ingrained into our lives. So right now you have maybe 2 or 3 computers on your personal body. You might have 100 computers. The computers be such that you walk through this door, and if somebody has a chance of getting a cancer or heart attack, immediately beep karega. Door will beep.
Okay.
That this guy who passed this door, after next 5 minutes will get heart attack. That kind of integration will happen when programming becomes zero cost programming.
Right.
So people have to reimagine their lives. People have to, if they think that last 20 years मैंने Python coding करके job ढूंढा, next 20 years I will learn Python coding and get job. No. But there are so many other problems to solve.
True.
Just like at my time,
Typist
went
and
away.
computer. So this change
will happen.
Change will continuously happen. But where do you see institutes or corporates or even government has to make policies in order to, facilitate this transformation? Because I believe idea behind doing this series of conversations around AI is also to make it very simpler and adaptive, right? So what do you think?
I think government of India is doing, and the place that where we met, Dubai, is doing. So government of India is putting a lot of emphasis on Atal tinkering labs. If you go to school now, many schools, if you go to even a village, there is something called Atal tinkering lab where people can tinker with ideas.
Okay.
You search for it. Okay?
Atal tinkering lab.
Tinkering labs. Okay. Then there is an Atal innovation mission to have a million startups in India. Okay? 10 years ago, the startup was a bad word.
Right.
Now there are maybe about 1 lakh startups. And government is thinking of 1 million startups. People have to respond to that. Government, I think, is doing sufficiently. It is the families and the education institutions who have to transform themselves to the new reality where right now there is a possibility that a person can start a company with very, very less capital and make it very large, even with less capital. I didn't have any capital. Even in 2003, I could make it with that technology. Now it is becoming easier. You have to just understand what problem society has. Try to solve that problem. And don't get bogged down by the changing technology. That is a given. It will keep on happening.
So how the hierarchies across the organizations are going to change? Because this is one question I try to ask a couple of other people from different domain. Because now there are a lot of things which are very human intensive. They have to put hours of time together and they have to deploy. And let's say somebody with 15 years of experience, they bring in all the past 15 years of their experience into it and do it. But right now, a fresher is also having that 15 years of experience, not exactly as a physical experience, but as a data point or, they can say, prompt it and do things like that. So how the human experience is going to play a critical role here when most of the information is available for a fresher as well as somebody within the system for 15 years. Considering both of them are very curious people in
curious, consciousness people. I'll go to the same example of watchmaking and organization. There is a similarity there. So production process and organization structures both are modular. Why are they modular? Because they are designed for human constraints that are currently there. So there are hierarchies because humans take time to learn, acquire, learn, relearn. Now, if using GenAI as a coach, the speed of learning can be enhanced. And it can be enhanced if the person is receptive to the ideas. Then the organization structure will change. The organization will become more fluid. And organization structure will be driven by Darwinian evolution rather than top-down structure. See, right now, organization structures are top-down structures.
Top-down, most of the places, yes.
But if you see the nature, it's a natural ecosystem. It evolves from ground up.
Right.
That is how organization structure will change when Gen AI is infused into the organization at the core level.
Okay. So that's when you see the universal basic salary, things like that coming in, probably even in countries like India. Do you think that's coming
We
up?
already have.
Okay.
So 80 crore people are getting food grain free of cost in India, right?
80 crore.
80 crore people are getting food grains free of cost. Most states are giving 1,000 rupees per woman per month in India. So the place where there's a universal basic income given is India. Nowhere else it has started.
Okay.
We already have. You go and do the search. We started, when pandemic started, we started giving food. We're not stopped, and we're not going to stop that. Why we're doing that? Because we have excess food production. We don't know what to do with the food. So we are making it available to for people free of cost. We are giving 1,000 rupees to the ladies, because then giving income to ladies is always better in a family. She can put it for the education or for the health of the family.
True.
And that has started. So Ladli Bahin scheme is there in each and every state, nearly each and every state in India.
Yeah.
So although we have not reached the AI capabilities, even with whatever technologies we are getting, with the mindset of Narendra Modi, we have achieved this. And we'll have more. Now the only negative is that some people become lazy. If there is too higher.
So in freebies is to enhance your life and go and because so that you don't struggle for your basic things. So even in the place where I come from, like say in Tamil Nadu also, they give a lot of freebies, but it has changed the lives of people. Like
Correct.
they gave free cycles.
Yes.
So a lot of people went to school.
Yes.
They gave free laptops, and a lot of people started using computer and internet. It kind of impacted the.
Correct. That is how it should be.
Yeah.
That is if every girl child is getting a free cycle, every student is getting a free laptop, every household is getting a TV. You think TV is what? But TV is a portal to the world. Portal to the world, right? That is what Tamil Nadu did.
Yes.
Jayalalitha did that, right? That connects the people to the world, and that is the way a universal basic income has to be given. And many places there is midday meal scheme in India, where poor children get free meal if you come to school. That is the incentive to bring them to school. So that is how it will come, and it will happen across the world, and it will create next level of prosperity for us.
Great. So, because within this system, within the changing world where AI is predominantly there, because these kind of aspects that the government is doing is indirectly supporting them in terms of evolving in this particular time period.
Correct.
Now, as a conclusion question, I would say, like, I want to know what founders or builders in general, like people who are building their own business or people who are probably leading a larger team in a company, what their mindset should be when it comes to approaching data and information in front of them. So is there any framework which they should keep in mind in terms of maintaining their own data architecture across their company? So because we spoke about barbershop as well as banking system. So, but in general, like what they should keep in mind in this time of AI, because there is already a lot of information. We have the most of the data that OpenAI is trained is from the US and other places. But now we need our own infrastructure. We need our own LLMs across, which is culturally having a lot of context and stuff like that. So that's on one side. But founders and people who are building businesses, what they should keep in mind.
Yeah. So two things I would say, that data for data's sake is of no use. Okay, people think, okay, I want to do AI, I want to do GenAI. First, I will go and build data lake. No, that is not the way. First, you have a questionnaire that you ask your clients, your suppliers, your employees, and find out what is critical for them. And from that, figure out what all data is required, what data is not available, get that data, build in data architecture. Data architecture should be such, and data architecture should have a Mandela kind of structure, that in the center there is a data governance, which is human driven.
What is Mandela?
Mandela means this. We make circles, right? In India or in this thing. Tamil Nadu, if you draw Rangoli.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
It's connected. Connected. It's connected. So the center has to be always human driven.
Okay.
Then the data which around that data should be, we should know the legacy of the data and the provenance of the data, from where it is coming, why it is there. And then you should have open APIs to connect to outside world, either to supply data to them or to get data from them, so that all the ecosystem as a whole can draw inferences faster. Okay, that is the structure that you need to have. Data lake by itself does not solve the problem. Another thing that you should know is what to completely automate. Something, a task which you think is machine can do, let the machine do it. As long as the human element is not getting lost, completely automate that. If there is some human element, then augment it, automate it plus, but don't let human to go out. But areas where there's a human connect, don't automate that.
Okay.
Keep it with you completely.
So, but how do we do that governance? Like right now, data is everywhere. Which one, as you said, like keep the places where the human involvement is required untouched, and then use the places where the mundane and things that can be automated. So, how that governing should happen? Because with large amounts of data, the proper governance also becomes very critical. And do you think we are prepared for it? And like, how do we do
we
that?
need to think from the first principles point. Okay, there is this. I don't know if you heard of this Air Canada case. So Air Canada got excited with GenAI and implemented GenAI in the customer support directly.
Okay.
So which is totally against my advice. What I said, human touch where it is, don't do it. Okay. Now GenAI hallucinated and created refund policy which does not exist.
Is it?
Okay. So somebody asked what is the refund policy, and if this policy were there, I would be happy. Something that he typed, and GenAI being GenAI said this is our policy.
Okay.
Then he booked a ticket, and then he had to cancel for some reason, and then he said, "Give me whatever." Okay. So now the real policy is not
there.
Not that the court held him accountable, saying that your GenAI which you deployed showed him some fake policy. You have to honor that.
Right.
Okay. So that was and why this happened. I wouldn't put a blame on GenAI. I wouldn't blame hallucination. I would put the blame that the governance framework that Air Canada applied was completely opposite of what I have proposed. That where there is a human element, don't allow the human touch to go away. Maybe augment. And where there is no human element, automate. Clear?
Yeah. Fine. So now I had like interesting points that you have mentioned across the conversation. But as an entrepreneur, what would you like to tell anybody, irrespective of the AI and transformation that are coming in? Because the change, one takeaway for me would be the tasks will change, that the job done will always remain same. So that's my takeaway personally here, because probably I'll use this framework across the activities.
It is a very simple framework.
Yeah, simple framework.
Yeah.
So, but for entrepreneurs who are always in the cusp of change, like who have to constantly prepare themselves for all these kind of changes, not today, but for whatever time they are in this system and building businesses, as someone who has run a very successful business across the globe, what would be your input for founders? Because a lot of founders watch this. So what they should be doing in this era of transformation?
Yes, first is people. The team that you have around you, they should trust you. You should trust them with their life. Then, what is the impact that you are going to make in the world? Money comes from the impact, and not vice versa. What is the impact that you are going to make? And third is how you are going to respond to the crisis if the crisis comes. If you have thought about all these three aspects, whatever the business that you are building, finally will be successful. So I have multiple businesses. We talked